Yo, what is up YouTube? It's your boy Legend and I'm back with another video. You already know what this is just by looking at the thumbnail. What if Naruto grew up merciless? Part 4 Remake. Now if you guys like the video, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe while you're at it. But without further ado, let's just get into this intro so we can start this what if. Naruto was walking into his shared residence as he stopped. He heard some rather odd noises coming from one of the rooms. To be honest, he's never heard any noise like that before. And now he was curious, and there was an occasional bumping sound causing Naruto to pull out a kunai. Seeing that in a house, a tanto would be bad for close quarters. He slowly walked to the room that it was coming from, now in the middle of the living room. As he heard Anko scream the word fuck, he picked up the pace and now he was really sure that something was definitely wrong. Maybe a spy or something was here. He made his way to Anko's room as she let out some more words that now had him confused as hell. Oh fuck, Naruto-kun. Naruto opened the door to her room and stood there for a second as she looked around. At first, Anko didn't even notice him. When she finally did notice him, she really made no attempt to hide herself. Naruto saw everything. It was like one of those pictures in his books. Anko's entire body had a slight tint of red, and she was covered in sweat. She was clearly out of breath with a hand in between her thighs. There was also a large wet stain on the gray sheets. Anko smirked as she sat up. Like what you see, Naruto now had a tent forming someplace at seeing Anko's naked body. But it didn't faze him in the slightest, which only struck Anko's ego about herself. I thought there was a spy or something here, so that's why I came in without knocking, but it seems you're fine. With that, Naruto closed the door and went to shower. If Anko didn't know any better, she would have thought that he was gay, but she knew that Naruto had zero experience with the opposite sex in a romantic way. And this was his first time seeing a nude woman. Naruto got in the shower and he shook his head. He wasn't in the mood. All he wanted to do was eat and sleep. Naruto looked down at his thing. Let's see if that trick in those books actually works. Naruto turned on the cold water as he ran it over his thing as it quickly died down. The next day, Naruto was in Danzo's office with Sasuke, Anko, and Eugeo. The four of them were given a mission to go to Wave Country. There was a report that came in saying that Kumo shinobi were seen moving into the area. Not wanting to lose any allies in a time like this, Danzo decided to send these four. They were to kill all shinobi of Kumo with the exception of maybe 2 or 3 of them for information. Plus, this would also stop them from making a move on to Kiri, since Wave was semi-close to the village. Eugeo was made the leader, with Anko being second in command. The 4 shinobi headed out 10 minutes later, keeping at mid-journey speed to not tire themselves out. Upon arrival 6 hours later, they crossed the border slowly, using Sasuke for the part since he and his Sharingan sees chakras as colors. And as expected, they ran into a group of Kumo ninja, consisting of 3 trying to secure the borders so nobody could leave nor enter unless with proper authorization. Naruto then vanished into the wind as Anko melted into the ground. Out of nowhere, one of the Kumo ninjas fell to the ground with a thud as Naruto had fingers extended a distance away. A pair of hands then came from the ground to drag the body under completely, as Naruto did the same with the 2 other foreign shinobi as Anko continued to hide the bodies. Wow, those 2 really work well together, said Eugeo. Sasuke said nothing as he stood and the 4 continued to walk. They made sure to remove and conceal everything that would track them back to Konoha, since this was supposed to be a capture mission in a sense. But being quiet would make things a lot easier. Meanwhile, In the sound, Mondis was in a training ground with dead bodies all around her. Some were bloody and mangled, with their bodies looking as though it was some sick science project, and others were so neat that you would think that they were sleeping. Mondis stood there and looked at everything. One of her hands was in the shape of a rigged scythe, and the other was in the shape of a small sharp lance with a purple and orange substance dripping from it, excluding the obvious rust-colored blood that now coated the mutations. The weapons then morphed back into her hands as she heard clapping, turning to see her master. "This is far more than what I expected from you. You took out an army of curse-marked warriors by yourself without as much as a scratch. You have me satisfied, Mondis." Mondis gave a bow and a thank you as she then snapped her head to the left. Orochimaru, seeing this, stiffened. A black and white being then came from the ground as Mondis shot off a bolt of lightning at the creature as it quickly sank back into the ground. Orochimaru cursed. He now had to switch bases once more. He was still working on a barrier that would be able to block Zetsu, but it was taking time, and he wasn't as good as an Uzumaki in sealing. To Uzumakis, there were 10 levels of sealing, level 1 being new and level 10 being sealed master. Orochimaru was level 3 compared to the Uzumaki sealing level, while Jiraiya was maybe a level 6. Jiraiya was a self-proclaimed sealed master though, but to an Uzumaki, he was just a mere amateur. But enough of that. He needed to gather all he needed and leave quickly. Meanwhile, Zetsu appeared in the cave. "Leader, I have found where Orochimaru has been hiding, but I was instantly found out. He is now fleeing. It was due to a woman with strange sensory abilities." Pain shook his head. "Orochimaru isn't a priority at the moment. A war is starting between Kumo, allied with the stone, against the leaf. Suna is allied with the leaf, so it is expected for them to join in. We will push our plans forward with slight changes, but for this plan to work, I need you to take someone from Konoha Zetsu." Zetsu asked Pain who, and Pain simply said the wood style user, a former experiment of Orochimaru. Zetsu then sunk back into the ground and went off as a swirling vortex opened behind Pain. "What do you think you are doing? I didn't give you permission to do any of what you are planning." Pain turned to face the masked man. "I don't see what is the matter. I'm the leader of Akatsuki, not you. You're just an add-on that's replaceable. My plan will work once the wood style user is in our possession. The villages won't even look twice because they will be fighting each other." "Your plan is dumb. Almost every village will fight for their Biju, and fight for that scale will draw so much attention, even if you had the wood style user." With that, the masked man vanished into a swirling vortex, back with Naruto. He and his squad moved through the wave as they dispatched Kumo Shinobi after Kumo Shinobi. Now there were only very few left as Sasuke jumped down in front of 2 of them with his Mangekyo Sharingan active. Both Shinobi fell unconscious. Yujeo picked up the bodies after placing a chakra sealing tag on them as she vanished into the shadows, while Anko and Naruto killed the last few Shinobi. Meanwhile, off in the distance, 2 figures stood atop of a lamppost with 1 figure at the base of it. "Do you want me to engage them?" "Not now. You'll have your chance. I can't have you hurting the Uchiha." With that, the 3 figures flashed away, causing Naruto to stop upon feeling the shift in the wind. He thought nothing of it as he made his way to the rendezvous point with Anko by his side. Anko decided to try her luck as she wrapped her arms around Naruto's neck from behind, but he simply reminded her that they were on a mission as he removed her from him. To be honest, Anko was sure that she would be able to take Naruto for herself. After all, he may have showed no reaction when he walked in on her doing things to herself. But his body doesn't lie, especially with a bulge that threatens to rip your pants. Time skip 2 days later, Anko sat across from a man that was tied to a chair with Naruto by her side. Why don't you let me do it? I'm sure it would go faster. Uncle gave Naruto a look that sent a chill down his spine. When Uncle was torturing someone, she was one scary bitch. If I were to let you do such a thing, you would kill them before we even get the information. Uncle then scooted her chair closer to the man in front of her. She then pulled a kunai as she stabbed it right in between the man's legs, missing his package by only inches as he let out a high-pitched yelp that was music to her ears. Oops, I missed. How poor my aim was. Naruto had to admit, Uncle was annoying, and she smelled like snake a little. But he rather liked this side of her. She was strictly business, and took shit from no one. The man looked at her with a hateful glare, but Naruto pulled a kunai of his own. I'm not as experienced as her, but I will inflict as much pain as needed to get what we need to know. Naruto stepped forward and made a small cut on the man's lower lip before grabbing it. If you don't start talking, I'm going to rip your bottom lip from your face. Naruto started to pull as the Kumo ninja shook violently in his chair, as there was a faint stretching and ripping sound before the man spoke. The Raikage! Naruto released the man's lip and motioned for him to continue. The Raikage is personally training some Anbu Jonin and both of the Jinchuriki. He plans to have them deal with you and do Uchiha along with him. Everyone else is doing Genjutsu training with C, while Darui trains the rest of the Jonin. The Raikage wanted to take Wave Country to try and stop any resources you may receive and take them for himself. And after that, he planned on making a move on Kiri to force them to ally with him. Naruto looked at Anko, who shifted in her seat. The way Naruto dealt with that was having her rather wet in between the legs. She fixed herself before speaking. Step 2. Go to the one in the other room and check the information with him. If it doesn't match, beat the shit out of him. In the end, both captives ended up dying, and the information was only half correct, but it didn't matter. At least some of the information matched up. But Ibiki was having a bad day. In all his years of torture, he has never seen someone look so beaten to where they were brain dead. But that was what happens when you waste both Naruto and Anko's time. Ibiki couldn't help but chuckle. Every time he saw those two together, he was always saying something to get away from him, or physically pushing her away out of pure annoyance and discomfort. If Anko weren't a capable shinobi, he'd say that she was just another girl with a crazy infatuation for the blonde. Meanwhile, Naruto was walking to the Yamanaka compound as he was going to do some personal training with Ino and Sakura, so he was bringing his former teammate along. Now that he thought about it, he wasn't on a team with her for long. It was only until the tuning exams. Then Team 7 was disbanded. Naruto surprised himself though. He managed to balance his team life with his undercover life with Danzo, as he was living a double life at the same standard. Same with Sasuke, and Sakura is only finding out about it now. How amusing. The same thing happened with Team 9, since Neji was like Sasuke and Naruto. Naruto then snapped out of his thoughts as he blinked. He stood in front of a rather tall blonde woman that looked a lot like Ino. Naruto gave a small bow. Sorry for the disturbance, but I have come to personally train Ino in taijutsu along with my former teammate. Rin Yamanaka giggled at the formality. No need to be so formal. Ino is in the back. I'll go and retrieve her. Rin headed off. Naruto realized that they were in a flower shop. This wasn't even the Yamanaka compound. They were about 10 minutes walk from the compound itself. What clan member doesn't even live in their own compound? Then again, he can't judge. The most he has is an estate that he can't even claim because Danzo laid claim to it before old man Saratobi could list it under his files of property. But there is no co-owner for when Danzo dies, so he'll just have his estate soon enough. Ino came from the back of the shop as they all headed out towards the clan compounds. Meanwhile, in a cave a distance away, Zetsu stood there in person. He was going over his plans on how he would get Yamato. He already had white Zetsu clones scouting for him. Now all he needed was the information, and he would put his plan into motions. Seconds later, White Zetsu came from the ground and attached itself to the original Zetsu. As Zetsu smiled before he sunk into the ground, Yamato wasn't even in the village. He was 7 miles out of it, at an outpost acting as the lookout until he was relieved of his position. He then felt a presence behind him, but it was strange. It was like nature was just sneaking up on him. He turned his head to see a white creature. As he did 2 hand signs out of reflex, and a wood spear came from the ground and drove into the thing. Yamato had no time to rest as more of them came from the ground and quickly swarmed him, not trying to cause any harm, just trying to simply attach themselves to a portion of his body. Meanwhile, miles away, we see Gaara meditating at the border of Fire Country with a hand covering his eye. A vast distance away from him was an eye in the sky. As it looked around, it was then destroyed as Gaara recoiled in shock. He didn't see anything. He saw some bushes rustle, but because nothing was there, or so he thought, he just thought that maybe it was the wind. Meanwhile, 2 men dropped their camouflage jutsus as they had on a stone headband. They moved closer and closer to Fire Country borders as they started to approach the final valley. But they were soon cut off by a swirl of sand. "The 2 of you will not make it past here." The 2 only grinned as they separated from each other and came at Gaara. But he only stood there with his arms folded as sand came up around him to protect him. The 2 Jonin just jumped away, avoiding the sand. This reminded them of the 4th Kazekage and how he used his gold dust. Gaara extended a hand as sand shot forward and wrapped around both men. "Sand coffin!" He then slammed his hands to the ground as their bodies became crushed into the ground with bone snapping force as their bodies ruptured. "Sand burial!" Gaara then flashed away, heading back to Konoha to report, not taking the matter to a scout one more time. If he did, he would have saw the platoon of both Stone and Cloud Shinobi heading their direction, being led by the Cloud Kinkaku squad and Brazier the Stone Rhino. But guys, I'm going to end it off right here. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you hit that like button. Subscribe while you're at it. But without further ado, I'm out, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.